What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Friday, October 2nd to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on odds.com, the odds headquarters. Man, I am pumped up about this show. The weekend is here, and we have MLB, 2 wild card games to break down. We went 2-1 yesterday. Then we have Dutch Boy Fresh joining us to break down Game 2 of the NBA Finals. I already locked in my action. I don't think I'll add any more at this point, but we will talk all about it. Then we have John Ryan making his Betting with the Bag debut. He's going to give us his 3 best NFL looks. Then we're going to keep John Ryan on the show, and Conor Mac will join us. And then we're going to hear each of their best 3 NCAA football looks. And, of course, we'll open with tonight's interesting game, La Tech BYU. Bulldogs, Cougars. That's how we're going to do things today, and I'm very excited. Thank you so much for joining us. We got cappers in the chat ready to get to work. Nilo, Mally Mal, man. Mally Mal, we've missed you so much. What a treat. Mally Mal, ready to get to work. We've missed you. Cash action bets coming off a nice day. We both cashed on Oakland. He had Oakland full game. I had Oakland first 5. He got a better line than me. Money kept pouring in on the White Sox. Is what it is. There is Guillermo Zertucci. My man, Guillermo Zertucci, who you will see live tomorrow. We are what? We are 14 and a half hours away from the Preakness Stakes special. Not only will we see Guillermo Zertucci, but we'll see his son, Eli Zertucci, a spectacular thoroughbred handicapper and great football player. We want to live vicariously through Eli's burgeoning football career. So the Zertucci family will be all over our Preakness Stakes show. We love them dearly. Great to see Guillermo in the chat. We got Jay Hu going Heat plus 9.5. Let's go. Well, Jay, I'll tell you, I'm on Heat first quarter plus 3.5. I came very close to betting race to 10, 15, or 20. Very close. Because you're getting nice plus lines there. Plus 130, plus 150, plus 195. Whew. I came so close. But I had to rely on the fact that LeBron is subbed out after 6 minutes in the first quarter. And that didn't matter in game 1. We saw the big turn before the injuries happened when LeBron was off the floor. We'll talk all about that, but exciting action for Jay Hugh. Cash action, looking for action. You will find it here, cash action. My man, Stephen Dunn says, Jets got me. Never put your money on bad teams. I deserve it. Well, I guess you nailed it, Stephen Dunn. What a horrifying roller coaster ride it was. Horrifying. I mean, it's just one of the worst roller coaster rides I've ever been on. Ugh. Viper NB jumping on the Heat plus 10. I think the line is too big. Rob Porwando, another great capper, OG low bagger, just like Mally Mal, who we haven't seen enough of. Cubs run line and under 7. Backing Darvish against Sixto. God, a lot of moving parts. I want to attack the Cardinals game in so many different ways. Now with MLB, they're not $200 bets, they're $100 bets. So it's basically half unit bets. They're full units on my record, but half unit bets. I want to attack it 4 different ways. I want to just annihilate the Cardinals-Padres game, but I can't do it yet. No line. Waiting very patiently. Can't wait to talk about it. It's Hustle Wilson doing just that. Hustle in. Christian Rivas ready to go. Steve Dunn says fade the Cubs. Fade the Cubs. Slats 45. Looking at Heat under with big injuries. They need to play. Oh, interesting. Slow the place down. Interesting look. Dennis Garcia with that Friday feeling. Dennis Garcia, I hope, will be all over our Saturday Preakness show. What a spectacular capper. He is Red Girl in the house. Great to see you, Red Girl. Robert Cherry, ready to go. We got a ton of work to do. Perfect rotation. Young Suave, Seattle Storm tonight for Young Suave. Tyrone Coleman, ready to go. Von Polo, going to be in the air while the Preakness is going on, but then he lands in Vegas. Where is there? Oh, man. Von Polo, where are you staying at? Let's get you and Dutch together. Let's get you and the boys together. Get you and Ski Profit together. Johnny K in the house. TJ. 6 to over 3.5 keys. Easy but juicy. If you can stomach it, pull the trigger. I was looking because I knew you wanted it yesterday. Interesting spot. 3.5, but it's going to cost you up to minus 150 or minus 140. Bright Ware says, don't do it, gents. Heat are done. No Bam, no Dragic. I still like that first quarter. And Cash Action Bet says Kershaw shine like a diamond. That was one of our winners yesterday, that first 5 under 4. It was a bit of a sweat, which I didn't want. Bill McHugh, Jordan Kane, Scooty and Ricky Butt, Bright Ware ready to get to work. Ty Clinton, Sonny Griffin, Mr. Wisdom, Swervin. What a great group. We got Shark Wannabe, Dill Pickles. Told you that Davies hits over 4.5 with cash. It cashed so easily. And he was barely out there. It was a great bet. Nick Hubb, Dean Eden. All right. Let's get to work right now. Tyrone Coleman says, don't trust Sixto. And wow, Brady says minus 160 now on Bet 365. There's Arnold Valentine ready to get to work. Let's do exactly that. Oh, and reviews with Von Polo staying at Bally's. Right on the street. Wow, Von Polo, that just brings me back to when I was at Bally's. I was Bally's with my girl, and I was going to take her out for dinner, and a Chargers-Steelers game was on. And I had the Chargers ticket, and they were down 3 scores even. They were down so much, but they were coming back. And I was like, no, I've got to stay and watch this game. And she's like, we need to go right now. And I was like, no, we're not going. I said, I need to watch this game right now, right here with this drink in my hand. And we stayed. And if we had left, I mean, you don't know what happened, but that was right when the woman drove on the curb and took 20, 30 people out in front of Bally's. And we didn't get knocked out because I forced the issue and made her watch the game. See, gambling will save you. All right, let's get to work right now. Leonardo Badalodi says LBJ triple-double is a good bet. You know what? My issue with that, Leonardo, is what if they're up huge? What if they're up huge and they don't need him? Need him in the 4th. Pretty says you're a hero. Yes. Gambling will save your life. And it did, I think. Because then we were locked down. Then we couldn't leave. Then we had to comfortably relax and watch the end of the game. Robert Allen ready to go. Let's go. We're going to start Marlins, Cubs, Sixto Sanchez, Darvish. And we have a total at 7 minus 125. There's been a 5-cent move to the over, and it's come back 10 cents. Let me just make sure that that's facts. Let me pull up. And no, that's not facts. So this is okay. Oh, wow. It looks like that Heat first quarter is going to go to 4. God, I was wondering. I was like, should I wait on this? It's now minus 105. I got minus 110. Okay, we'll talk about that shortly. All right, let's stick with this Heat Cubbies spot. It's now a 40-cent move towards the Cubs. A 40-cent move towards the Cubs. Arnold Valentine is nailing it the way. So we're getting 2 different looks, okay? We get Ron Crawford, whose plays of the day cash consistently. He's a spectacular capper. His play of the day is on the Cubs. And then Arnold Valentine says Cubs bats won't come out, and that's why I'm not going to take him minus 220. And Christian Riva says, got to tell my girl the story. Maybe she'll understand. Yeah, I saved our lives because of gambling. All right. Dean Eden says if Bartman is at the game tonight, take the Marlins. I do not think. Maybe we'll get a Bartman cutout, but I can't trust the Cubbies bats. And it doesn't matter how bad Sixto Sanchez looked in those last 2 games. I think that he's a gamer. And I don't even want to test him. I don't even want to test him with a Cubs over, the Cubs team total over. Let's see what that is very quickly here at Bet 365. That Cubs team total over 3.5, juice to minus 140. Marlins team total over 2.5 at minus, what is that? 2.5 at minus 110. A 2.5 team total for the Marlins, and it's juice to the under. Wow. Sixto Sanchez, 3-2, 3.46 ERA, 1.21 whip, 39 innings, 33 Ks, 11 walks. It is 53 Fahrenheit cold in Chicago. Clear, 10 miles per hour, sideways in. Marlins versus righties, 235, 673 OPS. Marlins bullpen is bad, but what did this do? This break, it saved them. It saved their bullpen because their bullpen is bad in the regular season. But you take them into the playoffs, and you have only 2 guys that you're focusing on, And all of a sudden, their bullpen is good because it's just Kinsler and Yimi Garcia. Kinsler, 2.22 ERA. Yimi Garcia, I know the sample size is small, but at a 0.60 ERA, now they're both ready to go. Let's W, full game under 7. Even that, which I guess makes sense. I guess that makes sense. And look at Ben Sports 24/7 on the Talking BYU tonight. It's going to be crazy for the Cougars. Trifecto in effect for Ben Sports 24/7. I can't wait to talk about it. Even with the vulnerability of Sixto Sanchez, there's just so many moving parts to this. I don't want the 7. And you know what? I want to attack this Cardinals game so badly. I guess that's my issue. So Starlin Marte gets an extra day to recoup. That day off, even though the Marlins won game 1 and maybe you want to keep the momentum, I think it's enormously helpful for the Marlins. Then they get back to having Yimi Garcia and Kinsler completely fresh and ready to go. Bright Ware says, nope, Cubs over, easy play. Sixto, not what you think. I'm not saying being able to throw 100 miles an hour equates to success in MLB. But he's got special stuff. And maybe he hit a bump in the road. But he's a special guy. Like I just don't want to question him. I just don't want to question him here. What we saw in game 1 was Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber, Hayward, Contreras, Baez go 2 for 20. All the pressure sitting here on those Cubbies. So Ben Sports 24/7 says Sixto is solid. Had a couple of hiccups, but he's a solid pitcher. Alexei Popovich said small sweat Marlins run line. There's DJ Big Boss in the house. So with everything being said, I'm not making a move on Marlins Cubs. I do not want the Cubs at this price without their bats. I don't want the under 7 if Sixto does slip up. And all the pressures on the Cubs, will that affect their bullpen late? Their bullpen has been much improved. 4.38 ERA, 1.34 whip, 224 average, 29 home runs allowed. Bright Ware on Marlins full game. Hala Madrid in the house. Backdoor cover, first 5 under a look. Again, it just goes back to the whole Sixto thing. I don't trust him, and I fear him. That first 5 right now is at 3.5. Alrighty. No move for me. Marlins, Cubs, no move. Now, let's move on to Cardinals, Padres. Johnny K on the Marlins. Let's move on to Cardinals, Padres. Again, we have no line. Let's just see if we have a line. If there's any book that's giving us a line anywhere. No. That's fine. As soon as this line comes out, I'm going to attack it. 3 ways for sure. Possibly 4. And I do not know how the Padres can win this game other than by putting up double-digit runs, which they're capable of. They're in enormous trouble. Enormous trouble. Flaherty, 4-3, 4.91 ERA, 1.21 whip, 49 Ks and 40 1/3. He's had a roller coaster ride of a season. But who is expected to come in for San Diego? Garrett Richards or Adrian Morejon, that 21-year-old from Cuba? Richards has pitched both of the last 2 nights, and Morejon pitched an inning and a third last night. Come on. The Cardinals must be licking their chops. I'm going to take Cardinals team total over. I'm going to take Cardinals first 5 and full game. And then I'm also going to take the over because this Padres team is rolling. They stayed alive last night, one of the most memorable games I can imagine. Tatis Will Myers joined Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig as the only teammates to hit 2 home runs each in a playoff game. Not being done since 1932. The Padres starters, Paddock and Davies, have lasted a combined 4 1/3 innings. Barry Smith says, I think Jets lose to Clemson and nail biter. Oh, man. Okay. I say bogus, Barry. Tingler, what's he going to do? TJ says, Jimmy, do you think it opens with the Cards as favorites? If it does open with the Cards as favorites, I think the public's going to bet the Padres. I think it's a pick'em at the opening. I think it's a pick'em. Not applicable had Cards first 5 last night, and Atlanta and Oakland. Jared Jr. Smile says Padres are going to destroy the Cardinals today. That's why we're going to get a great line on the Cards, because there's going to be a lot of people who are in love with the Cardinals offense, and you have every right, the Padres offense, and you have every right to be. They look very, very strong. TJ says, agree, wait and bet before game starts. Absolutely agreed. If the Padres can do this, I mean, I'll be beside myself. We have a very small sample size with Flaherty against the Padres. I'll mention it here. 1.10 ERA, 1.163 whip, 200 points batting average. It's 3 career starts. He's only started once at Petco in 2017. This is not important. What's important is the Padres have to hit double-digit runs to win. So I probably bet the over as a 4th bet on this game. I'm going to Flaherty, Mr. Ghoster. Jack Flaherty is the pitcher. I'm going to absolutely attack this game. There's Joe Free giving a shout-out to our Noli Knows who did great work yesterday. All righty. Slats 45 says, with you, Jimmy, on the Cards trifecta. The only time I've done this with the Yankees, and it hit. Let's unload. Absolutely. Let's W, Padres team total over. There's going to be so much public money coming in on the Padres, and I don't know how they do this. I simply don't know how they do this. There's Matt Randall, star of the Taint play of the day in action. And Tori Coker says, I'm here, and I'm taking my Miami Heat money line. We dig deep tonight. Tori Coker making a move on the Heat money line. I can't wait to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in seconds here. Dutch Boy Fresh going to be joining us here in seconds. There's Geghard A in the house. All right, let's review how we are going to attack this action. All right? Marlins, Cubs, I'm staying off. I don't want it. Sanchez had a 1.69 ERA through 5 starts. In his final 2 starts of the regular season, he allowed 9 runs in 7 innings. But, look, he's just got that spectacular stuff that makes me not want to fade him. The Jalen liking the Marlins. So, Marlins, Cubs, no move for me. Cardinals, Padres, I'm going to attack, and I'm going to be studying horses for Saturday while I sit back and reap the rewards from Polo on the Fish. Cardinals team total over. Cardinals first 5 in full game. And I agree with TJ. We sit back and we wait. Sit back and we wait. Let the public money come in on the Padres and then attack. Team total over, first 5, full game. There you go. There is your MLB coverage. 2 wild card games. And now, Breeds Beats says, let's have a Cardinals, Jimmy. Breeds Beats, man, I thought about you in game 2. I thought, man, Breeds Beats nailed this. And then you can't trust the Cards bullpen. You know, I also think, just before we move on from this Cards Padres situation, I don't know why this wouldn't be a live betting perfect situation. Because if Flaherty's in trouble, we know this Cardinals bullpen is going to get touched by the Padres. So if Flaherty looks like he's in trouble, then you can start betting the Padres if you want. If Flaherty's rolling, Cardinals will roll. All righty, let's get to work. NBA Finals. Game 2. Let's bring in our NBA expert, our man, your man, Dutch Boy Fresh in the house. Dutch Boy Fresh, what up, my man? How are you?
All right, what's up, Jimmy? How we doing? Everybody in the chat, salute to the low baggers for sure.
All is well here. Thank you for waking up bright and early. It is at 20 after 7 a.m. for our man
Very
Dutch
early.
Boy Fresh in Vegas. Thank you for putting in the hustle.
Absolutely, boss. Thanks for
Let's
having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure.
Yes,
all right, let's get right to work. Heat Lakers game 2. I have so many different questions I want to throw at you, and then we're going to close with player props. That's how we are going to handle this. Okay, so let's start with the most blatant factor in game 2. Goran Dragic, plantar fascia tear in his left foot. Bam Adebayo, neck strain, doubtful. Not expected to be in the lineup. Let's start with Bam. Not that Dragic isn't extremely important. Let's start with Bam. Do we see some of Myers-Leonard, or is it going to be the Kelly Olynyk show? Olynyk, 6'11", 240 pounds. Leonard, 7 foot, 255. They're going to get bullied. And Leonard's only played one game in these playoffs, 8 minutes, game 3 versus Bucks. Let's start with that matchup right here. How do you see the Heat handling Bam's injury?
It's a very big injury to me. I obviously was very upset with Dragic going out. I had the over in the prop, but Bam to me is the biggest injury. It kind of made me just go back and relook at everything. They only played one game without Bam, and that was actually the last game of the season in the bubble. We know they kind of took that game off. They actually only scored 92 points in that game. I do think we'll see more Myers Leonard. I also think we'll see a lot of Kelly Olynyk. But it's going to be a big issue without Bam. To me, it was going to be really tough for them to even compete in this series. I was really looking towards LA. And then without Bam, I just think it's going to be a sweep, to be honest with you. But I do believe we'll see a lot more Kelly Olynyk on the perimeter, and then they will give Myers Leonard some run.
Myers Leonard in that game, I looked up that game as well. He played 28 minutes. The Heat weren't able to do much in that game. How do you think it changes the Miami Heat pace? Miami Heat pace in the 8 games in the bubble, 100.69 possessions a game. First 3 rounds of the playoff, 97.35 possessions a game. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, 97.50 possessions a game. How do you think? And Bam is game time decision. Of the two of them, it sort of seems like Bam is more of a possibility. Although I might rest him. Make sure you have him later in the series. But, I don't know exactly what's going on.
I disagree with that. I think Bam should be out there. I couldn't believe that he was that doubtful, to be honest with you. I think it's this new breed isn't as tough as they used to be, Jimmy. I can't believe he's missing this game, to be honest with you.
It's tough. It's tough to know exactly what kind of pain he's dealing with.
Right. I agree, and I don't know how much pain he's in, but they got stuff for that pain to get you out there and play. This is game 2 of the NBA Finals. I mean, I get it with Dragic not playing. I mean, he's pretty much got 1 foot. I think it's his neck, his shoulder with Bam. I mean, ice that shit up and let's go.
Yeah. Jinrami, it looks like Garrett Richards or Morahan. We're not sure at this point. Alrighty. So if Bam is out of the lineup with Olynyk and Myers Leonard, how does that affect pace?
Well, to me, I think Miami has to slow it down no matter what. They don't want to run and gun with LA. So you would think it would speed up the pace, considering those are more perimeter-oriented players. But if Miami wants to have any chance in this game, it's going to have to be slowed down in the half court. That's my personal opinion.
Well, that's what Slats was saying and a couple other cappers in the chat as well, and they were leaning towards the under. This total opened up at 216. It's up to 216.5. Does that lead you to wanting to make a move on the under?
I already did make the move on the under actually yesterday, Jimmy, at 217 on Willie Hill. It opened at 2. It's down to 216.5 there at Willie, but I did lock it in at 217. To me, the pace, like I said, Miami's going to have to slow it down. I just don't see where they're really going to get all the points from. I was on the under game 1. I didn't put it out because a lot of people were on the over as well, people I respect. So I kind of just, and I got lucky, I think, with Dragic going out. But to me, the Lakers have the defense to stop Miami. In Miami now, without Bam, obviously it's going to be tougher with AD. But I still think they're going to slow the pace down. LA will lock them down on D. And I definitely think we can get under the 216.5. I like it pretty much all the way down to 215. A couple numbers to back that up. The total has gone under in 5 of the last 6 Miami and LA games. In the NBA Finals, strictly for LA, the under has went The last 6 games in the NBA Finals have went under. Also, 5-1 to the under after an ATS win for the Lakers. And for the Heat, they're 7-1 to the under when playing a team who's straight up better record than them, or not better record, straight up winning against them, which obviously the Lakers are against Miami. 8-1 to the under on that. So everything to me just shoots the under. And like I said, where's Miami going to get the points? Bam is so much to their offense. Dragic was the guy that I thought would get off in this series. There's no Dragic. I just don't see. I see them struggling to get 100 points.
Struggling to get 100 points. All right, let's move over to Dragic, and your angle is very appealing and more appealing the more we talk about it. Let's talk about Dragic out, Kendrick Nunn in. Kendrick Nunn started off the year unbelievably well. Undrafted rookie. He was breaking records for undrafted rookies. And then something happened in the bubble. And in the early games in the bubble, I lost a couple bets on him in player props. Something happened.
We did have COVID too, right?
At what point did he get COVID? Was it late in the bubble? I can't even.
Yeah, I can't give you an exact answer on that, boss. I just remember he had COVID, so I didn't know exactly when that was.
But he started the bubble healthy, is that right? And then he got COVID late. I'm trying to remember myself.
Okay.
So he gets COVID. He played. God, I got to go back to what happened with him in COVID now. I've got to refresh my memory of all that. So he misses a few games. I remember he came back and he just couldn't hit a bucket to save his life.
He just wasn't in sync. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wasn't in sync. And they – go ahead.
Yeah, couldn't hit any threes. Couldn't hit.
Right.
He was going 0 for 10, 0 for 11 in threes.
I mean, during the regular season, he averaged he had 20 points over 19 times. He averaged over 15 points a game in 67 games in the regular season. So the kid could score. In the 3 games against LA, he's averaged, including the game game 1, he had 18. He averaged in 14 points. Do you have a prop on him? He was the only one I couldn't find a prop on this morning.
No, it was the first thing I looked at too.
Yeah, because I'm looking for over on him. I expect him to get his attempts and everything. So if we do see a prop on there, I expect him to go to get at least around what he's averaging, 14, 15 points easy. So, and I do think we can find a prop lower than that if they give us one. But I was looking this morning, looked last night. I didn't see it. I do like, I don't know if you want to go on the props yet, but I do like a prop though.
I want to close up this, but let me ask you this. With Kendrick Nunn in replacing Dragic, don't you feel like the pace will speed up?
Yes. At one point, in an aspect, I do, but actually, I believe that they're better on defense without Dragic. So that to me counters back. To me, they're better defense with Dragic on the bench. That's his weakness. And do I think they're going to score more with Dragic or Nunn? I think they're going to score more with Dragic. So to me, I'm just playoff basketball, the intensity, LeBron, the way they look, the aggressiveness. I just can't take the over on this. And I just, when I look at Miami, I said, where are they going to get the points? And it's not like they're not going to go out there and play D. Jimmy and Spo's going to have them ready to at least go out there and play some defense.
Okay, Tony Mang says Duncan Robinson not mentioned. Duncan Robinson 0 in 27 minutes.
And it's 13 points, I believe. I thought that was a little high for him. I mean, that means we need, 4 threes? And minimum probably, because he ain't going to do nothing else. Maybe get a layup. So need at least 4 threes from Duncan Robinson. I don't know if we're going to get that.
You made a great bet going on the under with Tyler Hero, game 1.
Yes. And it's go ahead. 14
points, 6 of 18, 2 of 8 3-pointers. I mean, he was taking enough shots. But
he scared the hell out of me. They weren't guarding him like I wanted to either, especially when they got up. He had a lot of open shots. To be deadly honest with you, we should have not hit that. It looked good early, and then it just went to shit. And then he didn't even play that much of the third quarter. I was like, whoa, so what's Spo doing? Thank you. And then he came out, had some more shots, and we did get lucky on that. He missed a couple wide open threes, but he's going to get his shots. So in that aspect, I do like the over 18.5 tonight, especially without Dragic. I think Spo's going to go down with his guns, and Hero and Butler are his 2 biggest guns.
Okay. All right. this is very interesting, and we're going to get into the player props. And Dutch just had such a great angle with the Miami Heat. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw from the Lakers. LeBron was dominant. He just looked so in control of the game, the pace, defensively. But their big swing happened that, the Heat had that early 13-point lead, happened with LeBron on the bench, but he was still spectacular. 25 points, 13 boards, 9 assists. AD, this is his perfect series for AD.
Yeah.
And now with Bam out, it just gets easier for him.
So ideal for him. Who's going to bang him? He doesn't like to get banged around, so he doesn't have to worry about getting banged around now. It's
exactly.
Ideal.
Exactly. 34 points, 11 of 21 shooting. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, a move that our Trotwam made on the over 9.5, cashed that in 8 minutes, but only ended up with 13. Danny Green looked good. Caruso looked good. It was a dominant performance.
Caruso looked nice.
Did you see anything? From what you watched in Game 1, is this going to be a sweep? Is this going to be done in a matter of days?
Well, I had Lakers in 5 with Bam and Dragic. Without Bam and Dragic, I guess we're gonna just be able to get the extra 3 games, but it doesn't. This is over, Jimmy. It's just a matter of it should be 4. Definitely should be 4. I'm locked in on the Lakers tonight. First half -5.5. They're 8-2 ATS in their last 10. First half, I think they're clearly the better team. I don't want to lay double digits with them full game. But I did like them first half, first quarter as well, -3. It went up to 3.5. I haven't pulled the trigger on that, but I am locked in -5.5 first half. I don't see any way that the Lakers are not up by 10 to 12 points at halftime, unless they just completely don't show up first half.
So I think just this has actually worked. I started laughing because it doesn't feel like I have the statistical backing here on this spot, but I just feel when you believe in a basketball team like we have learned to believe in this Miami Heat basketball team over the year, especially since we've gone into the bubble, that you take out 2 very important players, but you still have Jimmy Butler, who demands accountability and is extremely impressive the way he gets the best out of his players, or he'll just leave your city, leave your team. And I see him looking in Kendrick Nunn's eyes saying, this is your chance. I see him looking into all these guys' eyes, this is your chance. And I'm not saying the Lakers are fat and happy, because LeBron won't allow that in the playoffs. But I do like the Heat first quarter. I do like the Heat coming out and playing strong. And I notice you don't have the Lakers first quarter. We're going to move on to props in a second here. We've seen 2 looks from our Dutch boy Freshies on Lakers first half and full game under. What do you think of me on the other side with the Heat first quarter plus 3.5?
Okay, so that's exactly what I thought was. I think that we'll get the best part of the Miami Heat in the first quarter. I think they'll get everything they had to bring. Spo will have them ready to rock and roll. Jimmy, like you said, he'll have his guys pumped up, ready to be locked in. But eventually, they're gonna realize they're just too much on the other side. They're overmatched. They jumped out to a great start game 1. I believe we're up at 15 points, and like that, Caldwell-Pope took it away. LeBron was on the bench when that happened. I know they remember that. So I do think your live first quarter. I didn't pull the trigger, obviously. I like the 3.5, not so much. Very close to pulling the trigger on the Lakers. I don't think I could bet Miami here, but I do. That was my thought of what was holding me up was simply I believe that Miami will be ready. I do believe they'll come out ready to go first quarter, but it won't last long. I hope it lasts through the first quarter for you, and then it goes away very quickly in the second quarter for me, Jimmy.
We have had some very interesting market moves here. We've seen a leading indicator offshore book already move it to 9 from the 9.5. And the first quarter is all over the map. We have 2 books still hanging a 3, and we have our first 4 on the board. Lakers -4. and I would have had a 5-cent better price if I had have waited. Okay, so before we go into player props, Dutch, you have 2 official plays, just 2, Lakers first half and full game under 217.
Yes. Do you have 217 out there anywhere or no?
I have
I didn't see
216.5 at my book. Let's just take a quick look at the licensed American books and see what they're offering, and then let's also take a look and see if there's what's going on offshore.
What's your feel on the over under, Jimmy?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Is Jimmy Butler hurt?
I mean, see, Jimmy Butler's probably as hurt as Bam is, and he's going to play. He's a different kind of cat, in my personal opinion. I think everybody's probably a little bit beat up right now. I don't think he's hurt. I think he's beat up. I don't think Bam's hurt. I think he's beat up. I just don't think he wants to get any more hurt because he keeps getting banged around and he's keep getting re-injured. No, I don't think Jimmy's hurt. I think he's beat up.
DraftKings, Bet Rivers, both still hanging 217.
Okay, yeah, I would jump on that.
DraftKings, Bet Rivers still hanging 217. I think that Kendrick Nunn speeds everything up. I think Rondo is tricky. And Caruso is smart, in the right places, good defensively. But I would expect Kendrick Nunn to think, I can run these guys into the floor. And so if that's his idea, then they're going to need Hero Robinson hitting threes, and they're going to need Nunn sprinting up and down the floor. Will Butler's ankle slow that up?
I don't believe so. I just don't believe Spo wants to run with this team. But maybe he does. Maybe that's his only way he feels that he can stay in it because it didn't work too well in game 1 when they tried to slow it down a little bit. I
can't say – I can understand you guys, a bunch of sharp cappers thinking that they're going to slow it down. But when I saw Nunn on the floor, he was flying.
Right. He looked really good, too. That's why I was instantly trying to lock in the props because I always know that whoever the Lakers are going to play, the point guard, as long as he can score, is going to get off. They always have issues with scoring point guards. That's why I really like Dragic. But I do like Nunn. I just don't think he's going to be that big of a difference. I don't think he's a better offensive player than Dragic by any means. So I don't see them scoring more with Nunn. I do see him moving very quickly on the court. So I get your point there of them speeding it up.
So I'm not going to take the over, but I don't know what to do with the total at this point. And okay. I don't see anybody sitting here going, take the over. So, we have the cappers in the chat like the under. KD.
What is Al Mac on today?
Fourth quarter heat.
Fourth quarter heat? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's go into the world of player props, something you've been handling expertly. Why don't you take it away? I've got them all up on the board, points, rebounds, assists, everything. Take it away. What is the prop? Who is the player that you're looking at?
Okay, so like I mentioned to you earlier, and you went off with the stats with Hero, he was getting up his shots. They just weren't really falling. I don't really think they were really in sync. And I honestly don't think he's got as many minutes as he would usually simply because of the score. So I'm all over Tyler Hero today. I believe 18.5. I believe it's minus 120. I see 19 out there at even or maybe minus 105. But I definitely think Hero's going to get at least 20 attempts tonight. I do think he's the best offensive player for Miami. Nowhere near the level of Jimmy Butler as a complete basketball player, but offensively, he's the best Miami's got right now. So I don't see how he doesn't get at least 20 to 24 points and get it probably anywhere from 20 to 24 shots up. I just see when you look at what Miami has to offer, who do you want out there shooting besides Tyler Hero if Jimmy Butler's not attacking the rim? Pretty much that's what I see. I do think Nunn will do his thing. If we can find a prop with Nunn, I expect him to get anywhere from 14 to 16 points in this game. But I have not seen anything out there for Nunn.
Nate Schellhammer says, I missed on Hero 1 point off. I agree. I like Hero again. And Nick Hub says we have a total out for Pods cards, 8.5. Thank you, Nick. Ooh, I'm excited. I'm gonna destroy it. My palm started leaking as soon as Nick told me that total's
Nice.
out. I got to get in on that fast. Tyler Hero over 18.5 points. He's being celebrated enormously for that 37-point game he put up, and I wonder if the lights are getting a little too bright. And he seems like a baller. He seems, all the stuff about knowing all the names and following the careers of the guys who were drafted ahead of him. But, I mean, the Lakers know. We can't let Hero beat us. He's the only weapon they have.
And that's why I was on the under, especially even money at 16 game 1. But now I almost feel like the Lakers can Hero can get his. He can get, 25. We're still going to probably win by 15, I mean, before it was we got a whole Dragic, we got a whole Bam, we got a whole Butler. We can't not let this kid Hero get off or else we're in trouble. Now it's pretty much that's all they got to worry about. I mean, to me, Jimmy looked very aggressive in the first quarter, game 1, but he hasn't looked too aggressive offensively too much in the bubble, especially in the last, series with Boston and then as well. So far in game 1, he kind of falled out after the first quarter. So he doesn't really seem to attack that much offensively. I think we'll see more of that him today. What's his props? 23 today, I believe I've seen it. Points?
Jimmy?
Yes.
It's 22.5.
22.5. Yeah. So, I mean, I like Hero better. I wouldn't be mad at over that with Jimmy too, because these are the two guys that are going to be having the ball pretty much every time down the court.
Oh, God, I love Slats. Says another sweat with Hero Dutch. We'll ride it. 7 bets on 2 games. I would tell my wife we are not leaving the house. Jimmy style.
Let's get it, Slats. All day, baby. Well, I'll be sweating it with the wifey too. Oh, man. Absolutely. Yeah, I like that guy.
Man, that's fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Dutch is on Tyler Hero props. I cashed with LBJ under 28.5. His point totals dropped a point and it's juiced to the over. If you just looked at how the market was handling game 1, you got the feeling that AD was going to lead the Lakers in scoring. He was going to score more than LBJ. Here, if you have any belief in what the market is telling you, they like LBJ to have a big game, and AD is now juiced to the under in player points. At this point, am only going to make one bet. I'm going to study the total. I'm going to think about everything that you said. But at this point, I'm on the Miami Heat first quarter plus the points. Miami Heat first quarter plus the points. And our Dutch boy Fresh has made 3 moves on this game. 2 side total player prop. He has Lakers first half. He's got the under 217. So Lakers first half minus 5.5. Under 217 in the full game. And then he's got Tyler Hero over 18.5 points. Is there any other player prop you're looking at before we move on, Dutch?
Honestly, I didn't really see anything else I liked out there. Like the Duncan Robinson one, I looked at because I thought, okay, he's gonna get some shots. I was hoping it would be more around 10.5. It's at 13, so I don't think I could pull the trigger on that. AD, I know you said what you said about LeBron. To me, this is like we talked about. AD should be getting 30, 12, 30, and 15 just easy, just showing up. I mean, they have no one that can even really just muscle him around, even push him around, which is just ideal for him. So I expect AD to have another big monster game. And it's really, to me, it's about if he's going to be on the court in the fourth quarter, to get that. So we'll see. But I'm only locking in Hero for now. I'll tweet out anything else if I do see it. I'm going to search for Nunn. Hopefully they'll pop that out. I can't believe we'll have a prop on him. Got a prop on Duncan Robinson, but not Kendrick Nunn. But we'll see.
Yeah, it was the first thing I looked at too when I woke up this morning.
Great minds think alike, Jimmy.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of Nunn during the regular season. And it was Swervin told us that he had COVID before the bubble.
Okay.
So I just mishandled him when the bubble started. And I mishandled the bubble when it started. But overall, the year is been good. Not great, but it's been good. Overall, let me just pull it up one final time here. How's my numbers? We are 167 wins, 146 losses, up 8.02 units, ROI plus 2.56%, and the average line minus 108. Dutch Boy Fresh, spectacular work. I think you're gonna have a successful day. I like your looks. And
my man. Just for just since we're doing that, just so we know, since I've been on the show, I'm 3-2 with my picks, up 0.80 units. So but we're gonna go 3-0 today for the show.
Oh, I love it. And you've had a great start to your NFL season. We need more Dutch Boy Fresh on the show. Great stuff. Follow our man.
On the Bears. My bad. Real quick, I'm just on the Bears with you. I love the Bears play. I love that. The +2. Did you get at 3 or 2.5?
I wish I could tell you I got it at 3, but I got it at 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like the money line too. I think they went out right with Foles. Definitely. But yeah, I'm with you on that game.
I like that. And you've been keeping your quantity of action. This is good that we're moving on to NFL because we have John Ryan making a show debut. And we're going to start with 3 spots in NFL. You've been keeping the quantity of your action down. Is that something that you had planned to do? You've only made 8 bets so far to start the NFL season.
Yeah. Well, just to keep it a hundo with you, I didn't put out my first week. I actually went 3-1 my first week, but I didn't put it out. I don't know why I didn't do that. So those are actually just week 2 and 3.
Okay, that makes okay.
So it makes it a little better, right? Makes it a little better.
Well, no, I don't think that the quantity of action. You know what?
But I don't go crazy.
Every handicapper's goal is for their unit size to go up.
Right.
That's the goal, and there's different ways of getting there. I mean,
I just want to fill it out a little more. The first couple of weeks. Not that I'm not confident in my plays. I just want to make sure I'm seeing things clearly. So less is more for me at that point.
The first few weeks are difficult. The first few weeks are very difficult, and I'm sitting 12 and 13 down 2.3 units to start the year. But my goal is for my unit size to go up. I want next stop $500 units, $1,000 units. That's how you know if you're succeeding, is because your unit size has gone up.
Right. So, absolutely.
So I don't think having a small sample size or small quantity of bets is a bad thing at all.
No, for sure. But yeah, I do like the Bills Mafia as well. And then I did lock in that first half 6.5 with the Rams.
Okay, sweet. All right.
So those are those are the 3 looks that I'm pretty confident in. I'm already locked in.
I'm off the Bills game. I'm a little concerned about the Raiders at home, so I haven't moved there.
Josh Allen's bet on, bro.
Say what, Dutch?
Josh Allen, he's bet on. I was on him, and I like that kid. I just something about him. But I think the Bills are a solid team. I get a lot of shit. You see, I got the Broncos hat here in Vegas, and I'm not too much of I don't. It's not that I root against the Raiders, but I'm definitely not sold on them. We'll see though.
Well, I can't wait to be down in Vegas and catch a game with you, my friend. Thank you for sharing your hard work. You're getting a ton of love from the chat. The
chat is the best thing in my life right now.
I love it.
I love it. Slash, I appreciate you.
I love it.
Big shout out to DJ Big Boss coming out here and kicking in with me too. You got to get here to Vegas, and we got to all link up, my man. Do it big. Yeah,
by the way, Dutchie, our Von Polo is going to be in town in Vegas this weekend. I'd love if you guys can hang out.
Yeah, just DM me and we'll link up.
All right, there he is, Dutch Boy Fresh. Again, we have 3 looks on Game 2 of the NBA Finals from Dutch. He's on the Lakers first half minus 5.5, the under 217 full game, and Tyler Hero over 18.5 points. Have a great Friday, great start to your weekend, and thanks for all your hard work.
All right, salute, Jimmy.
There he is, Dutch Boy Fresh. We go right from Dutch Boy Fresh and NBA to bringing on a show debut for John Ryan. Can't wait to have John Ryan on the show. We're going to start NFL and then move into NCAA football. John Ryan, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Jimmy. How about you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this show. I like this opportunity where we're not overloaded, where we don't, an hour and 40 minutes of baseball, and we can really break down the spots we want to attack. And I'm excited to have you on the show finally. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate being on the show too, Jimmy. This is an honor.
Oh man. Well, let's get to work. Let's get to work right now, John Ryan. We're going to use NFL and NCAA football, amongst others. I know you cap many sports. John, we have a bunch of low baggers in the chat who are going to be getting to know you now as you're going to be on the show. Can you give us a little background about how you got to this spot?
I've been at this for 26 years, and hopefully I don't appear that I'm that old. But seriously, it started when I worked on Wall Street with analytics, and we did some fancy things with fancy words called neural nets and price pattern recognition and back propagation. And those are the words that are fancy, but they're really pretty simple stuff. And a buddy of mine was crude oil trader said, why don't you apply these to sports? And I looked at him. I'll never forget it because it's obviously impacted my last 26 years. And I said, there's no rhyme or reason with this. It's 50%. It's a coin flip. And he got me to play around with it. And this is the result. 26 years later, and still I enjoy every single day with this.
Well, we are very excited to add you to the team. Your analytical mind is something that we're very excited about. You're getting a ton of welcome, John. Interesting, exciting, fantastic story. You're getting a lot of love from the chat. Well, let's get after it right now. Why don't you give us a little idea of your favorite sports to cap, your best sports to cap, before we get into NFL and NCAA football?
I would have to say it's football, both college and pro. So if it's a Saturday, my favorite sport to work on is college. As dumb as that sounds. And then the NFL becomes very exciting because that's the tail end of the week, and it's kind of the culmination of everything else going on in the week. So, for example, we have baseball going on this week with the playoffs, so that's very interesting to me. The NBA Finals is extraordinarily interesting, but then we kind of transition to the gridiron, and then those become the focus. But honestly, if I had to pick one to handicap, it would be the NFL.
Well, NFL is big business, and we have a big, beautiful week ahead of us, John. And I want to pull up my plan of attack here in NFL and hear how you are handling it. What are your 3 favorite looks on the NFL card? We'll go one by one, and I'd love to talk about each game a bit before we move on to the next game. What are you attacking first and foremost on your card?
Well, we'll start with the one that it stuck out right away is the 49ers are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles this week. And I actually live pretty close to Philly. And I'm more of a sports fan than a specific team. But I can tell you that it's not a good situation in Philly. And watching that game against the Bengals, the players can be happy that the fans weren't there. Because I never seen Doug Peterson settle for anything. He's a gunslinger. He's a gambler. He's kind of like an Andy Reid. And because of all the injuries the Eagles have had now and some of the dysfunction they're having in executing simple plays, he's limited to what his play calling can be. But to settle for a tie kind of blew my mind because 0-2-1 is, in my opinion, is just as bad as being 0-2. Especially when you're playing the Bengals. But going out to the West Coast, they're going to have trouble with the 49ers. Did see yesterday that Garoppolo was back at practice. Whether he's going to be upgraded to start is a whole nother question. But even if he doesn't start, my models are clearly on the 49ers. And the whole argument in Philly is it's Carson Wentz this, Carson Wentz that. It's his fault. It's his fault. It's almost like listening to the political debates. Everything is on him, but it really isn't. It's the wide receivers are not getting separation from the defenders. And granted, they're out. Jalen Reagor, who's the rookie from, actually forget where he came from, but it doesn't matter. He's a speed merchant. He's been timed at 4.2 in the 40. Hand time, but 10 coaches were there and they all had the same time. So he's out. Alshon Jeffrey is out. Alshon Jeffrey may be back this week, but these guys don't have a chance to practice either and get some chemistry built. So without any solid wide receiver, they're going to be dead in the water. You can't expect anything else to change.
We're supposed to be able to attack the Bengals on the ground. Sanders goes 19 times for 95 yards. If you had told me the Eagles are going to sack Burrows 8 times, I would say, wow, they must have won by 15 points, 20 points. And yet Wentz just struggling and struggling and struggling. 29 and 47, 225 yards, 1 TD. So how have you looked into what 49ers are returning? Because it looks awful, and it didn't hurt them against both the Giants and the Jets. Do you see the Eagles as bad as the Giants and Jets?
I hate to admit it because there's a lot of my friends are Eagle fans, but I can't see anything really changing monumentally when the Eagles there's no reason to think they're going to do better until they get healthy and then they figure out the Wentz situation. And what I mean by that is it was so ironic. He played a pretty decent game, but the news out of Chicago with Foles coming into the game, who you may remember was the quarterback that took the Eagles to the Super Bowl when Wentz got hurt and won the Super Bowl. He just produces a totally different chemistry with the players on the field. And he makes everybody around him better. Now, on paper, Carson Wentz is monumentally better than he is. But it's a team, and it's 11 people and 11 players wanting to attain the same goals and get the ball into the end zone as many times as possible. But on the Eagles right now, it seems to be a lot of individuality, I guess is what the word would be. So, until they figure out, first of all, how to get a ground game going. Miles Sanders is really their only running back, and he's adequate. But they have to get into a situation where Wentz can use play-action pass. And play-action pass right now doesn't do anything to the defenses. And you saw that with the Bengals. They tried play-action pass, and the defense didn't even react to it. So there is one system I wanted to mention, too, here. And it's one of the monster ones here as I pull it up. It's 27-1 on the money line. Okay, so that's 96% winning bets, and that spans 10 seasons. So you're looking at a 27-1 situation, and it has to do with teams that make mistakes and teams that don't. And turnovers is a big thing in football. So this one is you're going to play on the money line with mistake-free teams that are committing an average of 0.75 or fewer turnovers per game, and after a game, earning a +2 turnover advantage, and now is facing a struggling opponent that has a negative 0.75 turnover differential. So differential, for those that may have never heard that word, it's pretty common in our land. But if you're negative 0.75, it simply means you're turning over the ball on average 3/4 of a turnover more than the opponent. So if you had a turnover differential of -1, that means you have one more turnover than your opponent on average for each game that you've played. So the closer you get to +1 and -1, opens up these opportunities like this system provides. I looked at a lot of these games, too, the 28 games historically, and a lot of them were surprisingly close to this picture where you have a lot of injuries. Starting quarterbacks are not playing. So I took that into consideration too, that the 49ers are banged up also, but they're also 2-1, but I believe their wins are against the Jets and the Giants. So that's a factor to consider too. You can say the Eagles are going to go out to the West Coast and they're a desperate team. But I just, the desperation should have occurred against the Bengals, a team that they should have easily beat 28-17, somewhere along that line. But to basically play the whole entire game and not have a lead against a team that has granted a stud rookie at quarterback, it just blew my mind. I just couldn't understand what was going on.
I like it. So the leading indicator books, 2 of them have moved it to 7.5. It's at 7 at most books, but you have to go in and attack it right now. Is that what you did? You took Niners full game -7?
Yeah. Yep. Early in the week, it was at 6.5 at a couple of places.
Yeah.
But that was short-lived, and obviously because of the news that we were just talking about. The one thing that does bother me with the game is that the public is on the 49ers. And generally speaking, you want to be on the book side of bets. The public doesn't lose every game. And this might be one where the smart money, well, it isn't. The smart money and the public are on the 49ers from the stuff that I've been looking at. So that doesn't alarm me too much, but I don't like seeing a percentage of bets ever on any game get above 70% for a team that I have an interest in. Over the years, that this has been a red flag.
Yeah, understandably so. Understandably so. And actually, it opened at Bet365 at -6, and -6 at +100. -6 at +100 for the Niners. All right. We got John Ryan on the board. Niners -7. Niners -7. John, what is next? What's the next game you're looking at?
Let me pull these up here quick. Another game I do like is the Cowboys against Cleveland. They're hosting Cleveland. Here's a team that maybe the direct opposite of the Eagles, but the media and the fan base in Dallas are treating them like they're a terrible team. And granted, they are 1-2. They could be 0-3, technically. That great comeback win in Atlanta. But they're more, to me, a 2-1 team. They've been in every single game. The offense leads the league in just about the majority of categories, up there with Green Bay. And the important offensive categories, not just total points scored or total yards. I use a thing called, it's a metric, yards per point. And that's a very key metric on some of my models that uses the algorithms to come up with these graded plays. So with yards per point, to explain that real quick, the lower the number on offense, the more efficient that offense is. So it means that it takes fewer yards to put 1 point on the scoreboard. Conversely, on defense, the higher the number, the better the defense. So that means that they're forcing an opponent to gain, say, 20 yards to get 1 point on average on the scoreboard. So that takes into consideration the situations where you get a short field and you score, on a 35-yard drive because of a turnover, which my models deal with too. Drive length is a pretty critical factor after week 4, because then you have enough data in the set for that season to make sense, and then use history to project what's going to happen. But yards per point is clearly in Dallas's favor in this matchup. The money, interesting enough, has been coming in on Cleveland. And I think, is that what you're seeing too, Jimmy?
It is, yes. Money is coming in on Cleveland, and I'm part of it.
You like Cleveland, huh?
Yeah, but I'm getting less confident as you continue to talk.
With this situation, let me just get back to this one page here. I'll read off some situational stuff here. I think that a play here too is the under. Dallas has been in a lot of high-scoring games to start the season, and it's not. I never look at a game that is due to go under the total because of 3 overs. It always reminds me of heads and tails on a coin. So if you flip a coin, 100 times or 1,000 times, and heads comes up 7 straight, that doesn't mean that tails is due to come up. The same thing with you see that mistake with roulette players. They see red come up 7 times in a row, so they're going to bet red forever. And it's always it's called mutually exclusive, statistically speaking. So every flip is independent of the previous flips, such as the NFL and betting. It doesn't truly matter what happened in the previous games, but we're using multiple games, weighted towards the current season to come up with these projections. So I hope that made sense. This system is 40-10 to the under for 79% winners over the last 5 seasons. So this one's kind of interesting because it has a lot of plays over 5 seasons. So people who like action can use this system and know that historically it's done very, very well and it's put a lot of money in people's bank accounts. So you're going to play under with a home team where the total is greater or equal to 49, that has a poor passing defense. And by definition, poor passing defense is allowing 230 or more passing yards a game. And after a game in which they gained 8 or more passing yards per attempt. So you have an offense like Dallas, and we mentioned, is executing on all cylinders. And they've been involved in a lot of high-scoring games. And that's how the system sets up for this one. 45% of those plays have gone under the total by more than 7 points. So I like that part too. I've always viewed turnovers, pick sixes, kickoff returns, pretty much all the things we saw in that pitiful game last night. When those happen and they go against you, it's nice knowing from the math part that you have that cushion of 6 or 7 points, because no model can ever predict the human factor of a football game or a baseball game or any of those things, and be able to say that, yep, there's going to be a pick 6 in this game with any degree of certainty. So I think with that's a pretty darn good system for people to use.
Do you fear that without home fans, that some of the system spots could get skewed because the visiting team will be able to hear every play they're calling? I am, and I thought it was it really came to light in the Kansas City game in Baltimore, and that stadium rocks. So without fans, Mahomes, you could hear him on the TV saying, making checks or whether they were just false signals. Just he was just making changes. You could hear just about everything he was saying, and I thought that really helped the Chiefs a lot. So I think here's another example to go back to the Eagles. No players in this, or no fans in the stands, right? Yet, the Eagles offense couldn't execute too many plays well. So it wasn't a question of being in a hostile environment last week. They just didn't execute. Now they're going on the road to the West Coast, and despite no fans, they've obviously been able to hear the plays and the changes and checkoffs that Wentz is doing, but it's been to no avail. Nothing positive out of it. Whereas I think with this matchup, I have to give you the edge on Cleveland with no fans, because that is good for their offense, which has historically with Baker Mayfield, struggled at times, to put it nicely. But I do think this Dallas team is monumentally better than 1-2. I did listen to a conversation, it'll remain nameless, where the particular host was saying that Dallas and the NFC East are horrible. So, yeah, that's true. It's they like to say the NFC least, but clearly when you look at the team, especially on paper, Dallas is monumentally better than the other 3 teams in that division right now. And they're 1-2. They're gonna be focused not to blow this game at home, and that's the part I like. It's still their home field. You can still see the enthusiasm after a touchdown, completed 3rd down pass for 3rd and 15 to move the chains. A lot of times they're playing as if the fans are there, with the intensity that they are showing. So I do think that it is definitely a factor, and I think that's why you'll see an adjustment on the totals moving forward. They'll be a little bit. They're going to start grinding higher because the offenses are able to execute at a higher level, if they're a better team. And one thing, once we get to week 8, I definitely will be looking at
winning teams. In other words, they're over 500, and they have an offense that's in the top half of the NFL. And they're playing another team that's just like them. Those are going to be the times to really jump on the over. I don't think this is one of those types of situations where the lines makers are going to be able to adjust to the human behavior part of betting. And after all, and you know this just as well as I do or anybody else, Vegas is not making a prediction on the game or the outcome. They're making a prediction on human behavior. And what that means is they, just like a stock on the New York Stock Exchange, Apple Computer, the market makers really don't have an edge one way or the other. They just want to have equal buyers and sellers. And nothing is more true than in Vegas with line makers. They're happy no matter what because they get 10% whether one team wins or the other. So I think people get caught up in that mistakenly, and you know, a lot of times we hear it on the radio even at some of the major networks that well, Vegas thinks this, Vegas thinks that. Well, they think that the public's going to be betting on that team, and that 3 points for that team is going to make it a good betting situation for them. So I guess enough on that.
Well, let's because we got to get into college football. So let's keep rolling here. Okay. We've got you on the under 56, and it's fascinating stuff. It's fascinating stuff. I don't want to, stop it from happening. It's fascinating stuff, but we'll keep getting into it. We'll have you more and more on the show and keep discussing these ideas. Could you quickly give us your look on the third NFL game before we move on to college football?
Yeah, let me just page back here. It's the Raiders. And the Raiders are hosting Buffalo.
Yeah.
And excuse me, I just get the game here and pull it up here.
No problem. Yeah, this is a very tricky spot. One that I've stayed off of at this point. Buffalo opening up at -2.5. They went to 3. There are now 3.5s on the board. And at 3.5, I might have to pull the trigger on the Raiders, but I would love to hear your breakdown. Take it away.
Well, I'll go right to a betting system here that is another very simple one to follow, and I encourage you to write it down. The ones that are out there listening and try it. There's nothing wrong with what paper trading or paper betting. Where you test the system out and you don't actually put the money in a real bet, but you actually monitor the system and then you gain confidence with it. So this system is 81-43 for 65% winners over the last 10 seasons. It's only had one losing season out of the 10. And you play against favorites that are off a home win in the first month of the season or the first 4 weeks. And it's that simple. The straight up record is pretty even, but that brings in the money line situation of playing an underdog with the money line. So 60-65 over the last 10 seasons. It's gone 20-12 over the last 3, 37-19 over the last 5. So you can see the consistency is right around that 62 to 67% success rate in any given season. So that's a pretty good system in my opinion. That's
simple, but it makes a ton of sense. I like it. And I guess you can sit back and wait till you get the 3.5s, because these 3.5s are going to be on the board. Very, very, very interesting. I like it. Jin Rami saying that's nice. I like that approach. Quick question before we move on to college football and bring on Conor Mac. Cash Action Bet says, so Jim, with John being in stock market, does he look more into the lines that move, or you focus just on your trend systems?
The line and the amount of money that in the game is part of the models. So in other words, if we look at the odds for this game, do you have the flows in front of you right now, Jimmy, for this game?
I turned it off, but I could pull them back up.
That's okay. The most important thing is you can get consensus. And the consensus, let's say 70% of the bets are on Buffalo, and 30% are on the Raiders. That generally almost always says that that's where the public is. And as a rule, you kind of want to be on the opposite side, on the book side. So at 70% on the number of tickets is a red flag. However, if it only represents 30% of the money, and I'm doing an extreme example to make it easy to understand. You have 70% of the bets and 30% of the money. That means every one of those bets is pretty small. And it also means that the bets that are going on the other team, in this case, in this example, the Raiders, is the bigger money. Those are the 5, 10, 20 grand bets that are being placed. So you can have a situation, in my example here, of 30% of the tickets being on a team, but 70% of the money. And that's a powerful combination. It's not going to win every time, but it's certainly over time, it's going to win more than 50% of the time. So that's part of the algorithms and the parameters that I use.
I love it, John. Great stuff. So we have 3 looks from John in NFL. We have the Niners -7, Cleveland, Dallas under 56, and we have the Raiders. And I'm going to put plus question mark because I imagine that you will wait to get that 3.5 that I think will become widely available. All right, we have John Ryan making his Betting with the Bag debut. Doing a great job. We're going to bring in our Conor Mac picks and start talking NCAA football. C-Mac, what's happening, my man?
How's it going, guys? What's up? It's Friday, huh?
Welcome on board.
It is Friday.
Roll.
It is Friday. I'm very excited about tomorrow's Preakness, and I'm excited about the Cards game. I still have no line on the Cards game in my book. Lamont Williams jumping in and Max betting Miami Heat money line. And Lamar Williams, what a baller. What a baller. I love it.
That's an aggressive bet.
That's so cool. All righty, let's get into NCAA football. I would like to start with this La Tech BYU game. We're going to hear the 3 best looks from both C-Mac and John Ryan, but I want to hear what we'll start with this spot. We'll get C-Mac to talk La Tech BYU. Man, these Cougars have looked dominant so far. Absolutely dominant. And the 25s are gone. So this total opened at -24. Now there's 24.5. And this total has shot up. It opened at 56, now 60. So what we've seen BYU destroy Navy and Troy. And the question in this game is, can Anthony Christian move the ball against this Cougars defense? On defense, Cougars have allowed 330 yards and 10 points so far this year. And on offense, they've been rolling, averaging 51.5 points, 600 yards per game. I mean, they're just absolutely dominant. And what this Cougars defense wants to do is drop 8 players back. And in the pass coverage, it looks like they're going to be able to do it here. So the question is, do the Bulldogs have a chance coming off a 66-38 victory over Houston Baptist? They rolled up 542 total yards. Louisiana Tech's averaging 48.5 points per game, 461.5 yards a game. Does that stop when they face the Cougars? C-Mac, let's open with you. La Tech BYU.
Yeah, I looked at this game right away, and I jumped on I'm on the over here. I got it at 57. I still think you're good at getting it at 59 here, and it might go up to 60. I think BYU easily puts up 45 to 50 in this game, and I think La Tech can score. I don't know how much we're giving BYU. You know, they're really getting hyped here. There's only 2 games in, so I think we got to maybe pump the brakes. How many 11-1 BYU teams have there been in the last 20 years? So, and I think La Tech's a pretty good football team. And I also have a lean. That's one of my best bets already. I got it at 57, but like I said, I still like it up to 60. And I think the points here are a good lean as well with La Tech. I think it's getting too many. It's almost at 25. So that's my other lean in this game. So what do you guys think, John?
Let's hear it, John. What do you think?
I like the analysis quite a bit, and I do agree with you that BYU's offense will not be stopped by La Tech's defense.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at this game earlier this week, there's a pivot point. I call it a pivot point in scoring. And it's generally 28 points. So if a given college football team is a good offense, like say, Oklahoma, for example, And when they score more than 28 points, they generally do pretty well, straight up and against the spread. And we're most interested in against the spread. So with this line where it's at now and a 60-point total, it implies that BYU is going to score, as to your point, at least 35 points. So since 2010, when BYU has scored 35 or more points in a game, they're 45-2 straight up, 34, 11, and 2 pushes against the spread for 76% winners. And your over is 33-13 for 72%. So you might want to know, well, how does La Tech do when they give up 31 or more? And we're only doing 31. We both think they're going to score 40 or 50 on their own. So when La Tech is allowed 31 or more points in games played since 2015, 6-15 straight up, 7-14 against the spread for 33%, and the over is a lovely 18-2 for 90% winners. So I think I like your overplay quite a bit.
Wow. And great work beating that line movement as well. There we go. That's the first spot on the board. So C-Mac moved on the over. And what did you get it at, C-Mac?
I got it at 57.
Moved on the over at 57. And
but I'm still good. Take it, I think, to 60. I think 59.5 right now, where it's at, is still, I'd take the over.
All righty. There we go. And you have a slot
if you went to 64, would you consider buying it back?
I don't know. Maybe at that number.
I just thought that just hit my head that you have a pretty nice cushion there already.
Maybe. I haven't thought about it. So
Ben Sports 24/7 saying La Tech won't score more than 15 points in this game. All right, let's move over to John Ryan. John Ryan, what's your favorite look on this NCAA board?
It would have to be starting with the Sooners, I think. They did something last week that isn't seen very often in college football land, and they were ranked number 3. They were favored by 28. I guess some places had them at 29, and somehow they managed their way to lose to Kansas State, 38-35, if I remember correctly. So they also dropped quite a bit in the standings, being number 3 and going all the way down to number 18. But now, as we were talking in the NFL, Jimmy, this is what I call irrational betting behavior by the public on the Sooners. So it's easy to say that, they played a horrible game last week. I'm trying not to use the normal words I use in public here, but the public is thinking that Oklahoma is not going to lose 2 games in a row. They're not going to lose to Iowa State. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to be mad, and they're just going to throttle the Cyclones. Well, unfortunately, I had at the time that I last looked at it, 78% of the betting tickets are on the Sooners. And anything above 70% is a concern. The money is actually on the Cyclones. And the bigger bets. And there's been some, 10, 20, 25 grand bets placed on them. So using common sense, you would agree with that logic that Oklahoma is going to go in there and just tear the place up. But the math here and the models kind of say a different story. The Cyclones, we're going to use that 28-point pivot point again, just like we did in this previous game. So the Cyclones are 17-3 straight up, 14-4 with 2 pushes for 78% when they have scored 28 or more points in games played over the last 3 seasons. And the machine learning tools that I have clearly have them scoring more than 28. And this will be a good old-fashioned shootout type of game, in my opinion. And the higher the score goes, the more chance that Iowa State will pull off the upset. So It's rare to say. I know it's probably a pretty gutsy call to say outright win, but I wouldn't be afraid to play this as a combination bet using the line and the money line to try to get the maximum profit.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Iowa State, the public side, Oklahoma, and yet, wow.
I'm the same way. I feel the same exact way. Iowa State's covered against them last 4 years. I know Oklahoma's in drop 2 in a row since Stoops' first year in '99. I think the value's here. I just wish if Oklahoma didn't lose last week to Kansas State, I think this line's, 13.
Sure. Yep.
It's a lot. That's where the 7 to me is a little I haven't pulled the trigger, but I'm thinking a lot about it. I would go Iowa State here. It's just that it's dropped so much because of the recency of Oklahoma's loss last week. So that was because I think if they don't lose and they win pretty handily against K-State, this is 13. I'm guessing maybe right around there. So that I just don't see. But I like that play. I mean, I'm looking at it real hard here. So I agree. Definitely.
There we go. Another look here on the college football board. We are off and rolling. So we have the over tonight for La Tech Brigham Young from our CMAC, and then we have John Ryan on Iowa State Cyclones. Let's move on to your next look. CMAC, what's it?
My next one's a big. I just have to do it. I got to take Air Force here in the 6.5. And you could get 7. You can get 6.5 right now at plus 100. Air Force hasn't played, but Navy hasn't showed me anything to be favored in Colorado Springs by this number, I don't think. So the value here is totally with Air Force, I think. I would gobble these points up. And there's a little lean on the under. I always like to play under, especially when there's both academies playing each other a little bit more than just one playing, out of conference or something like that, or against a different team. And that's gone something wild, 35-8 or 9 in the last 15 years, the under between them. So that's a good look. It's 46.5. But the last 4 years between these teams, the over-under is 2-2. So they've gone over in that. But I love the points here. The Air Force, I'm not worried about the quarterback. They led the country running the ball with 295 last year. And they got a great offensive line in that Lutenberg and Ferguson. They'll give it to anybody. I think they'll run the rock, run the clock. I think this is a close one. I would take these points here. I think the spread's too high in my mind.
What do you think, John?
I'm with you. And I pulled up a system here that supports Air Force. You're going to play against road favorites after that team allowed 5.5 or more rushing yards per attempt in their last 2 games. So again, a very simple, straightforward system using just 2 parameters. The site location is road favorite and allowing 5.5 or more rushing yards per attempt in 2 straight games. Pretty easy to track. You don't even need a computer for that. So that's hit for 71% for a 55-22 record spanning 10 seasons, and is 12-6 over the last 3 seasons. And he's definitely right with the under when the military teams are playing each other, the trio of them. And I believe it is 35-9 to the under. And honestly, whenever I see that trend, it's one of those that has been going on for so long now that you wonder when's the adjustment going to happen and they start playing over.
As long as they keep running the wishbone, both teams, I don't think it'll change. That's crazy. But I think maybe until they get new offenses, it might change. But I think if they keep running that and running the clock, they just drain it. That I think that trend will continue. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. But
no, it's fine. Yeah. Maybe they should put a rule in for those 3 teams. You have to make at least 10 passes a game. Years past, when Navy threw the ball in the Army-Navy game, I think there was one game where there was 2 attempts.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well, John, let's move on to your next look in NCAA football. You've given us Iowa State so far. What's next?
The Auburn-Georgia game, which I'm going to pull up here. So I'm on Auburn in this matchup. Every year it seems Auburn in the media gets hyped a little bit, but then they suffer the schedule of the SEC. And we all know what that means and what that applies. But this team seems to be a little bit different than teams of past years, in my opinion, especially with Bo Nix at quarterback. He has a year under his belt now, and he's not, at least through one game, he's not making mistakes in the reads. Last year, he would get excited and his feet would get happy and he wouldn't, execute throws right. So in this game, I think the Tigers against Georgia with that quarterback situation, I think that's a good one to get on. You're getting almost a touchdown, I think 6.5 right now. And that's another game like the Iowa State game where I would do a little bit on the money line too. And from time to time, I get really aggressive in my elder age, well, compared to you guys. And I'll tie those two teams together in a money line parlay. I do that a lot in baseball with dogs, but I like those two games and to take the added risk and go for it.
Yeah, you think they're the only thing about Auburn, they haven't played well in Athens at all the last few years. Is that any right there? Or you think this is with Nix? Nix is just, to me, has been so inconsistent throwing the ball. He's just, hopefully he's getting better, and he's a great athlete. He'll make plays. It's going to be a great game. I think it'll be very close. I think it's going to be a good one. So, the dog play is nice. They've struggled so much in Georgia. Georgia's had their number that but that was at my game. I had that circled here. I'm really looking at that one. So I like it.
It's that's so true. In the SEC, I think revenge almost gets watered down a little bit, almost like in the Big Ten. The teams play each other so much, and even though it's different players, that rivalry is certainly there. Yeah. But the revenge factor, you could have revenge 4 games in a row of losing, but I don't know if that means as much as actually going head to head against that particular team and knowing that your rank for the season is going to depend on the outcome. The SEC teams are punished when they lose to a conference foe, even though that's the best conference by far. But there is a pretty cool money line system here that actually has a losing record. And that's why I want to mention it here. I got to find this thing quick. Here we go. It's 54 and 57 straight up. So 3 games under 500, 49%, but it's averaged a plus 220 underdog. So if a $100 bettor bet $100 on these 111 games, you would have a profit of $5,930 over the last 5 seasons, just doing this one system. So the requirements are to bet on underdogs between plus 150 and 300 in a game where both teams have returned 5 or fewer offensive starters. And that's all it is. Wow. You look at offensive starters that returned, and as long as it's 5 or less on both teams, you bet the dog.
Wow. That's wild. That's another really interesting, simple angle. Wow.
Yeah, and I guess it makes sense because when you have an offensive line that has been decimated by the NFL draft or just graduating, that's the unit of 5 players on that offense that must have that cohesiveness and that chemistry to work together as a unit, not only to protect the quarterback, but to get the running game going, their gap discipline, coordinated right. So when you have offensive lines, even the ones that plug and play every year, Clemson and LSU, Alabama, we know the names. It still takes time for those players, even their 5-star recruits, to get to know one another. So that's why I think this system actually makes a lot of sense to take the dog, because you're probably getting a little bit more benefit from the line because of that reason.
I like it. I like it. All right, we're going to move on to the final looks from CMAC. John Ryan, not the final, but up there, best three. CMAC, you're on BYU over 56, Air Force +7. What's next?
I don't know how popular it is. It's kind of a public pick, but I'm going to go with it here. Is Alabama first half. It's under 10. It's 9.5. I'm going to take it because I have no trust in Kellen Munn. He fumbled the ball 3 times again. I watched him play all last year. I wouldn't want a full game. That backdoor cover could always come in, but I like this first half. I think Harris, Jones I think Alabama will play well early, and they'll let off the gas maybe late, and Munn will start making plays. But he couldn't make throws at all. He missed some bad ones, 4 or 5 that in that game last week. And Vandy, I mean, they were 31-point favorites and got by. I mean, they have Spiller, and they need to rely on him because I'm not a big fan of Munn. He's a good athlete. He can move the ball. He's good with his feet. But I got to take this. It's under 10, so I'm on the first half. Bama -9.5.
Bama first half -9.5. John, what do you think?
I can see that. I actually will have a play on Texas A&M plus the points for the game.
Full game? Yeah. Well, I won't go the whole game.
It's not one that I'm going to play the money line on, obviously, in these situations. I'll get to another betting system here. It's earned a 75% win percentage against the spread for 39-13 record over the last 10 seasons. And in each of those 10 seasons, there has not been a losing record. There was a couple of seasons that were even 500. To make that clear, so you would have lost the big. But this requires us to bet on road teams that scored and allowed 17 or fewer points in their last game are now facing a host who led by 17 or more at the half in their last 2 games. So, I'm sorry, in their last game, only 1 game. So clearly, this actually, I think, supports your first half bet on Alabama getting out to a lead. And covering that 9, which doesn't necessarily imply they're going to cover the 17.5 or 18 or whatever it is right now. But A&M with Jimbo Fisher, I think, is making strides each season. They still have a lot of holes to fill when you compare them against an Alabama or a Georgia or even an Auburn. But they seem to be heading in the right direction. So I do like the Aggies here, even though they won't have their 12th man in the stands, apparently. Oh, no, they're on the road. They're on the road, so forget it.
Yeah, they're in Tuscaloosa. I think A&M backdoor covered last year against Bama. I'm pretty sure I think I had that game. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look that up. But Munn got a late touchdown. He got a late touchdown, and they backdoor covered. So that's where full game, I don't – and it's right on the number. I think it's 17 here or 17.5. So, yeah.
I like the game, but I can see why somebody would think it's a reach. Again, using that 28-point pivot, Alabama, it's hard to imagine them not scoring 28 points in every single game they play. But Alabama has played more games than I thought, at least, where they did not reach 28, and the records were not good. So that's where, if I was having a conversation with you, when we were having a couple of beers at the bar, it would be hard for me to convince you that Alabama's not going to score 28. And you have, very solid reasons for that not to occur. So real quick, the line indicates a final score of 34-17, roughly, or 35-17, depending on where the total is. Yeah. So that right there means that they're above 28 points. My models say that the Tide is going to score 28 or fewer. In other words, a max of 28, and it's going to have more turnovers than the Aggies. So that's the factor that really comes to play here with the turnover margin. Alabama's not good at home when they've committed more turnovers than the guest, and even more so when it's an SEC rival. The Aggies are 24-3 straight up 22-3 against the spread for 88% winners since 2006, when they've had those metrics met or exceeded. So they win the turnover battle, and they keep the opponent under 28 points, and those were the records. So it will be interesting to see what happens here.
John, let's move on to your final look of your top 3 spots on this NCAA football card.
I should have said in the beginning, it's actually on Texas A&M. That was my third one. So
All right.
I apologize for that. We can look at another one, though, if you want.
Well, we do have a question from the chat, so why don't we close up the show on the Baylor game? A lot of interest in what you guys think of this spot, Baylor, West Virginia. Baylor opening up as -3-point road dogs, now 2.5s on the board. This total opened up at 55, now at 54. Have either of you guys looked at Baylor, West Virginia?
I have. I'm just looking at my my notes here. I'll go first if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so obviously a Big 12 matchup here. West Virginia is probably going to be better on offense this year as the season rolls on. They have 8 starters returning on offense, including their quarterback. Baylor has 7, including their quarterback, which isn't too bad. But Baylor only has 2 defensive players returning from last year's unit. And as I mentioned, with the offensive line being the most important unit to have returning starters, the same can be said with the defense. If your defensive line has been decimated by graduation and NFL drafting situations, then you're going to have some growing pains trying to put that unit back together, especially in the first 4 weeks of the season. So I like West Virginia in this matchup because of that reason, fundamentally. Just looking for, again, this 28-point thing comes into play too, with how they do scoring or not scoring more than 28 points, and it heavily favors West Virginia. I think passing-wise, they'll exceed Baylor's passing total by at least 100. West Virginia's record when that occurs is 30-9 against the spread. If you look at yards per attempt, West Virginia is going to average more than 7. Again, similar results against the spread, right around that 75 to 77% level, depending on what span of years I'm looking at. And in games where they've outgained the opponent, especially in home games, by more than 100 total yards, the record is 75% against the spread over the last 10 seasons. So I think I'm on West Virginia here.
I think. Sorry, real quick. I think West Virginia. I will want more points here. I think they're still very young team. I think the more talent, and I'd rather have Charlie Brewer. This is like his 31st, 32nd start. I think they have the more talent on offense, and it's dropped to 2.5. I think the fans are a big deal in Morgantown with this team, and I guess there's going to be probably 10,000 or so. I lean with Baylor here a little bit. I don't love it because all my model, I would usually take the dog. I just think there should be more points. I would want more points with West Virginia to pull the trigger. I'd want a touchdown or more to feel comfortable. At only getting 2.5, you just take a money line if you like West Virginia that much. But this game I'm really looking at because I still think Baylor has the talent. They got the better QB, the better playmakers, and I think they outscore them. So that would be I'd go with Baylor here, small, and it's because it's gone under 3 as well. So that's my look.
Yeah, I agree. The higher the score, the more I would favor to expect Baylor to win. If it becomes a shootout, Baylor could easily win by double digits.
All righty, there you have it. Nice looking NCAA breakdown from our guys C-Mac and John Ryan. John Ryan, Iowa State +7, Auburn +7, Texas A&M +18, C-Mac, BYU over 56, Air Force +7, Alabama first half -9.5. There you go. And in NFL, John Ryan gave us Niners -7, Cleveland, Dallas under 56, and Raiders waiting for that 3.5, which will become, I think, available. And when it does, I'm going to hit it as well. I'm going to hit that as well. Great stuff. Follow CMAC at Conor Mac Picks and follow at John Ryan Sports 1. John, great job. Got a lot of love from the chat. Thank you. Great debut.
Cool, appreciate it.
Great debut from John Ryan. I know a lot of people are talking about this card spot. I still don't have it up in my book. And I have decided to cut the fourth bet. So I might do a live spot if Flaherty looks really good and wait for an over late. But I'm just going to go team total over for the Cards and Cards first 5 full game. So I'm going to cut the fourth. Everybody's going to be hammering this full game over. And what if Flaherty steps up? So that's going to be my look. I'm on Heat first quarter plus 3.5. The looks we got from Dutch Boy Fresh. Lakers first half minus 5.5. Full game under 217, and Tyler Hero over 18.5 points. I'm only on Heat first quarter plus 3.5. Thank you guys so much. Absolutely incredible. Thank you guys, Mike, Ryan, C-Mac, and Dutch Boy Fresh, and you guys in the chat. Thank you guys so much. Noli knows, Alex Ramirez, Jin Rummy, Matt Randall, Cash Action Bets, can ask at PG00187, Swervin, Pole Buddies, Nerfic, Shane Schwader, Cuban Connect, all you guys, the Czar. Thank you guys for your support. And tomorrow, Preakness Stakes, all day horse racing action. Please join us. And then I'm back on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. for the NFL kickoff show. On behalf of all of you guys and all of us, importantly, on behalf of all of us, thank you guys so much. C-Mac, you want to give us a little leche to take us home?
Here we go, baby. Leche and los bookmakers. Let's get it. Preakness tomorrow.